The Strikemaster, the development of the Provost and then the Jet Provost, now providing ground strike capabilities, whilst still providing its simplicity and efficiency of the well-known Jet Provost. Hey guys, it's model making time, and we're back today with another video, this time looking at the Airfix Strikemaster. It's of course a bit of an older kit, and we'll get into the kit history much later on into the video. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and if you want to join a lovely community of model makers to share your builds and knowledge and ask questions, then make sure to join the Discord too. We'll be going through the history of the Strikemaster itself in New Zealand service that we'll be making today, and we'll also be having a look at, well, the kit history as I mentioned earlier. Then we'll get into the construction of this kit, and we've got a guest today, which is Sully. Sully is someone you may know, well, from their insanely amazing videos where they've created a Sea King that is somehow a chicken coop but looks really realistic, and also their chick monk, which got a lot of flack for having bird's nest in it, even though it looked stunning. We'll meet Sully a bit later on in the video when we actually get into the construction. They're helping me with how to weather the model. For now, let's look at the history of the Strikemaster itself. The Percival Provost was a propeller training aircraft, which has its lineage develop into the Jet Provost, and now what we're looking at today, the Strikemaster. You can really clearly see how these aircraft all relate to each other. Out of the three, the Strikemaster is kind of the oddball, being one that actually has more combat-oriented duties. We're not looking at the history of the Jet Provost itself. We have done a video on the Provost when we made it for the Red Pelicans display team, Airfix's newer tooling, so have a look at that video if you haven't seen it already. The aircraft itself was still powered by the same Viper jet engine, but this time it was uprated, so a more powerful version, which makes sense given the ordnance this thing's going to carry. This meant that both the instructor and the student were sat right next to each other, could see exactly what each other were doing. This is actually still quite common in modern trainers such as the Grub, one that I've actually been in before. But on a lot of aircraft, including things like the Hawk and Alpha Jet, in fact most jets, you'll actually have it where you're sat one in front of the other. This aircraft would of course be entirely pointless if it didn't have some sort of weaponry. It could carry up to 4 75-gallon underwing drop tanks, and could also carry a variety of bombs. It also had the ability to carry gun pods, which would complement the pair of machine guns that were situated by the intake on the aircraft. To really reiterate though, these are machine guns and not cannons. Interesting choice for a ground strike aircraft. The aircraft itself has remained in popular culture to this day due to its prominence in multiple air forces. The two that I think I see most of all are Saudi Arabia and New Zealand. New Zealand used the type all the way up until 1992 when it was replaced by the MB339 of Air Marquis, which was, I think, its last jet sort of ground strike trainer aircraft, as New Zealand famously doesn't really have anything anymore. The New Zealand variant is what we're actually building today, and it is a beautiful little aircraft. In fact, I actually fly this in War Thunder a lot, not sponsored, but it's a really fun aircraft, and if you do get the chance to get it in War Thunder, it is now quite spenny, but it's like really fun and kind of overpowered because paid for aircraft that was in the battle pass. But it's where I actually got the inspiration to build this, and I love sort of watching things in like real air shows or playing them in video games and then going, I'm gonna make that. I think the interesting thing with the New Zealand variant, particularly seeing as that one is one in War Thunder, is that it wasn't really used for strike. Like, it was mostly used as a trainer despite being the Strikemaster. It was dual role for New Zealand, and whenever you see the type referred to, it's pretty much referred to as a trainer. Most of these look like they're in pretty pristine condition, not surprising for a training aircraft, and it was a bit annoying because I really wanted to experiment with weathering on a kit that I wasn't too worried about if it got ruined. So I want to preface this by saying that, yeah, mine probably isn't going to be the most realistic looking model at the end because I really want to play with weathering. I need to learn somehow, and this was the perfect project for it. Now that we've looked at the history, it's time to look at the kit history, and this one's pretty straightforward. This aircraft was originally released in 1973 by Airfix, and it remained the same up until 1985, except for one boxing by MPC in 1983, which is the international release. In 1985, they released a box art that I absolutely hate. As you all know, that's the one where they feature the built model on. I just think it's really uninspiring. But then in the late 80s and 90s, we got a re-release again with actual box art until we got the one that I've got here today, which is from 2008, featuring the New Zealand Air Force on the front. We mentioned it already in this video, Airfix have actually released an updated Jet Provost. It's kind of surprising they haven't done a Strikemaster release, particularly seeing as these are aircraft on the airshow circuit. But alas, we don't have that at the moment. So although I've done the Jet Provost, I've never actually built a Strikemaster, even though they're really similar. Now that we've done that, let's go and have a look inside the box. The Strikemaster. The instructions for this kit are relatively simple. Not as bad as the really old Airfix kits, but again, nothing near the quality of today. It won't take you long to put together though, and you get 3 different liveries to choose from. Unfortunately, I forgot to include the decals in this unboxing, mainly because they were strapped to a window with some sellotape to try and de-yellow them, because they had been in a box for a very long time and looked a bit off colour, and I think it worked, but you'll see those later in the video, just not in this unboxing segment. But as you can see, you get 3 lovely schemes to choose from, including a Jet Provost and 2 international users, including the New Zealand one we'll be making today. The parts all come on this sprue, and the sprue is quite thick, and it does seem to leave some mark even if you use some nice cutters. It's not the end of the world, it just means you'll need a little bit of sanding and filing, and well, you're going to probably need some filler for the kit anyway, so it's not really the end of the world. The kit's parts are relatively well detailed, again, particularly given this era. No, this kit is not as detailed as a modern Airfix kit, but given the techniques they use now, that isn't a surprise. But I think if you do put this kit together, you'll be relatively surprised. Coming with 2 pilots as well, you have a lot of options for this kit, and it doesn't look out of place next to some modern examples if you just take your time with them. You can also add some extra detail in, but I didn't really find this necessary. Overall, I thought this kit was nice, again, for a 70s kit. The transparencies as well were also rather nice, which can be a surprise because some of the older kits definitely have compromised clear plastic. Cool, now we've seen inside the box, we understand this is a relatively simple kit, and I'm hopeful. This isn't a kit I've had a lot of hate about, so hopefully as we get into the construction of the kit, it's not going to be too hard. And then of course, we'll join our friend, Sully. As I mentioned in the unboxing, the construction of this kit is relatively straightforward. The cockpit I have just put on the instrument panel, and then I'm just putting in place the joysticks as well. The cockpit for this kit is actually quite nice, to be honest, and when you look at the modern Jet Provost next to this, I think you can see sort of the inspiration and how they've used some similar techniques to put it all together. I genuinely think this is a really nice kit, to be honest. I did try a bit harder with the cockpit compared to what I normally do, just because I thought, well, I'm going to be trying some new techniques, so why not try a little bit harder? So I painted the instrument panel with a really thin brush, giving some white sections, and then I even went on and did some black sort of arrow hands for some of the dials, or dial hands I guess they would be. This is definitely well outside of my comfort zone and something I've not done since sort of, well, like the very early 2010s, before I even started this channel, when I was starting to get a bit better at brush painting and had for the first time started airbrushing. So this is definitely something that I want to do again in the future, and I hope I can try and make really detailed cockpits in the future. Maybe even scratch build, but for now we're just sticking with what's inside the box. Of course, I'm painting the joysticks themselves black, and I've done some red on top of them as well, and I've tried to give some colour variance in the cockpit itself. The instrument panel from looking online was a grey, so that's why I've sort of just kept it a grey shade. And to be honest, I think at the end it doesn't look too bad, and when it's sat inside the model, I think it will look relatively okay, hopefully. Hope you guys agree. The model itself did need some weights put in, so I went ahead and used some fishing weights. These are ones that I've been using for a long time, sent in by a viewer, Jackson. Thank you so much for these. I have been using these forever, and I've been using glue and dice to put them in place. I do just want to point out as well that you're seeing the old background for my videos here. This is an old kitchen table we used to have where I used to do modelling before I got a space to do it properly. So you're going to notice a little transition to a newer setting during the course of this video. Sadly, I've got a couple of models where that's the case, but hey ho. Once it was dry enough for me to stick together, I popped the cockpit section in place, and then I stuck the fuselage halves together. Interestingly, you don't get the seats in initially. I can't remember if that was the instructions or if that's what I just chose to do. And then I use a bundle of tape to make sure it sticks together as firmly as I can, because of course, well, you do need to make sure that it's really tight, otherwise you're going to have massive gaps. The wings themselves do fit in quite well, but I ended up having to take them out to glue them back in, and then using some glue to try and help fill the gaps with some melted plastic. And I can't remember if I used some filler as well, but it was quite a lot to get the wings looking really nice. But at the same time, I really want to emphasize it wasn't that bad. I built really modern kits that were definitely worse than this, so this definitely was not the worst kit I've ever made. Absolutely not. It just took a bit more glue and a little bit more time than perhaps it would have done on a newer kit, I guess. And yeah, I did also nearly put the wings on backwards because I'm really smart like that. Getting the wings on there, as I say, was not that hard. And, you know, I've already nearly got a complete aircraft already. It's kind of insane how quickly this aircraft goes together. It's one of the things I do like about some of the old kits is it didn't really feel as much like parts for the sake of part count, which definitely can feel like that's with some aircraft nowadays. This is where I'm putting the glue just on the seam to try and really help make sure it bonds, because I was getting little gaps, and you shouldn't really have that. Of course, most wings do have a slight angle to them, it's sort of a dihedral or the inverse, but it can be quite hard sometimes to make sure that the model kit doesn't just have like gaps in the wings that you have to fill. After that, it was then putting the wingtip things in place. I didn't get this on camera properly and it's slightly out of focus. This was also on my old camera, so hopefully we don't get this as much going forward. Obviously we're going to, because it's me, but I'll try. But yeah, I just wanted to explain what's happened there. And then we've pretty much got the model put together, so I'm putting some of the little details on top. So there's not really a lot left. I mean, as you can tell, I don't think I remembered to film the undercarriage, but I mean, again, it's a really, really simple undercarriage. There's not really a lot to it. The thing I found most confusing was whether or not both of the doors stay open, but I think one of them is shut. So if it turns out the end result of my model kit is wrong, I apologize. I've done what I thought was correct according to the instructions. I did my best. But yeah, overall I thought this was a really nice kit. And now I'm just popping the seats in place as well. I mean, it's just not that hard really, is it? So after we've got this in place, it's pretty much just a case of putting the final touches on. So as you say, we've got the undercarriage to do, and then we've got the air intakes to do, which again, sorry this isn't quite as in focus as I would like. Hopefully fixing this with new camera, but yeah, I'm still learning to get these videos as good as I can for you guys. Hopefully in the future I might even get another angle out, but you know, can't really afford to spend loads of money on getting like a little GoPro to sit another angle, but hopefully you can see exactly what I'm doing here. After that, I've put the masking fluid on the canopy and on the front where the landing light goes, where that little gap was at the front, and then I've primed the whole model. Word of warning, because I don't have anywhere else to put this because I did not film this bit, but I actually forgot to get this model finished for quite a long time. And it meant that the masking fluid didn't come off properly on the canopy. The front bit was fine, the canopy was not. And I basically had to use masking fluid and then repaint bits of the canopy. So, word of warning, don't leave your models as long as I did, but I don't think it's possible for most people to leave them as long as I did once they're painted. And the paint itself, I am using my airbrush, my Gallery airbrush. This is still the 39, so it's the cheaper end of Gallery's airbrush range. I think this is my second or third model I've done with this airbrush, so I'm still very much learning it, but I definitely felt a bit more confident doing this one. I did try to do low density layers, so like thinner layers is what I mean, to try and make sure some of the pre-shading came through. I don't think I got it right on this one. The metallics one I found so much easier to have the pre-shading show through, so I think this is just something I'm going to have to learn over time. I think I am also a fan of post-shading, so maybe I'll try more of that on models in the future, but at the end of the day I don't think I did too bad in the end. I started off by using, well, it's kind of a custom colour, so I didn't have an exact match for this, so I used Japan Medium Brown, and I mixed it with white until I was comfortable with the shade that I needed, and I kind of used the boxer and scale mates to get an understanding of what colour this should be. After that, I've used two greens. The one you can see going on now is olive drab ground, and then the one I used afterwards was Royal Australian Air Force Foliage Green. Now, all of the paints I've used in this model, except for the initial Tamiya primer, are life color paints. Well, other than oil paints as well, they're obviously not life color, but all the sort of colors I'm putting on the model are life color paints. I pretty much use life color exclusively at this point, just because I've kind of found I really enjoy spraying them. They seem quite easy to use. They're also really nice to brush paint with, and Mr. Modeler has also started using them, so now we are sort of a life color family, I guess. But yeah, I really enjoyed using these. I found it quite easy to do. It's the first camo one I've done since I've really properly got into airbrush. I've done 2 metallics. I've done the Southwest Triton, and now I've done the Draken, which I did before this one, and then I've done this Jet Pro, so or Strikemaster, should I say, sorry. And I think it looks okay. I don't think I got the camo quite right. I think I would have benefited from having a clearer plan. I was just sort of trying to copy the box art, but it doesn't look horrendous. I've just tried to get the nice feel of the aircraft. I think the end product looks okay. I'm just not... I think it looked weird without any decals on, and I wasn't super convinced by it. Of course, we still have the underside to do though. So once I did the entire top surfaces, I had to go and do the underside. I've seen that it should be sort of a wavy pattern between sort of the underside and the top side. I haven't done that. I've just done a flat line, and I've just really practiced with my airbrush, and I think I did okay, and I think the pre-shading showed more here. I've used a sky blue color, that's sort of a grey blue color. It looks right to me. The instructions and scale mates said it should be more of a grey, but I've gone for what I had. You can sort of see how blue this color is, but you know, sometimes you just got to do what you feel looks right. The decals are here. As I mentioned, I didn't show those in the unboxing in error, and I'm just using a combination of microsol and microset to put these decals on. What you don't see is that one of these decals, and you can see how small they are now, in the underside of the aircraft actually disintegrated. This was a problem I faced throughout putting the decals on this aircraft, is because the decals are, well, they're not the best quality and they are older. Well, those two things tend to mean quite bad decals. And so what the underside decal broke, and obviously it had to be where the kiwi bird was. So I freehanded painting a kiwi bird on. It was not something I did on camera because I wanted to make sure I could do as best I can and hold it as close to my face as possible. And I think at this point I'd actually got my new glasses, so I could actually see what I was doing with my zoomy magnifying glasses too. So yeah, I did end up doing that, and I know it's complimenting myself, but I did a good job, I think. The decals did all go on okay, bar these sort of walkway sections on the wings, and there should have been some on the top section of the air intakes as well. I ended up just painting those in black, so I know this model didn't end up being 100% historically accurate. But you know, like at the end of the day, this aircraft was never going to be 100% historically accurate anyway, so I'm kind of not too fussed about that. But I did my best to try and use the decals where I can, because although I don't like, I will do filler and stuff, and I don't just build them like exactly as they came out of the box. I do try and make sure that I'm building them like to the best of the ability that the box will allow, except for paints I'll always buy extra. So yeah, despite the fact there was a lot of breakage, I do think I managed to get most of the decals into the right places, which again is not something I'm always able to do. A lot of the reason this kept going off camera as well is also because of the fact that I was fighting so much with these decals. There's not many of them, it was just an absolute royal pain. So yeah, it is what it is, but I think I did okay. After I got all the decals on, I did paint the anti-reflective black bit on the front of the aircraft as well, and I just sort of added in some detail on the undercarriage as well, again painting the metal in and the black of the rubber tyres. Because, well, obviously the next stage after this was the scary bit. That was where I was going to have to do a technique that I'd never done before, and used a material that I'd never used before. And well, that material is...
oil paints.
Yep, never done this before, but Sully asked me to get 4 main colours: burnt umber, burnt sienna, black and white. So I ordered them, built the model as you've seen so far, and then, well, we got to weathering. But like, how do I do this? Like, do I put it on and then use white spirit to drag it out?
No. What you need to do first is grab yourself a little bit of card, and the paints that you're going to be using, just dab them onto the card, because what you need to do is let the linseed oil soak out of the oils.
Right, okay, I guess I'll just go play like Flight Simulator for a bit.
No, it's not going to take that long. Just enough time probably to make a good brew and a bicky. I don't know, probably say about 10-15 minutes you'll be ready to go.
So I guess like I grab my brush. Wait, what brush do I need?
So what we're going to do first is dab a small splodge of the paint that you're going to be wanting to be using. So you're wanting to sort of simulate sort of oils, stains and leaks, or even hydraulic leaks. So dab the colour that you want, to sort of like a, I don't know, like a browny yellow if you want to mix a couple of colours up, and then just grab a flat square brush. And what you want to do with the brush is just put a small amount of thinners on it. If you put too much on, just drop it across a kitchen towel to wick away most of it, and then you're ready to start. And then all you're really going to need to do is just streak the oil down.
Okay, my first time that I'm not too sure on. I'll give it another go.
Yeah, there you go, that's it, looks alright. All you really need to do is just go back and forth, and this will give you a nice sort of sharp line, and simulating your oil streaks. You can always do this technique as well with the round brush. It does give a slightly more precise sort of streaking, but with your flat brushes you can add a bit more of a feathered look to it. So again, it's depending on how you want this streak to look. If you want it to be a very long sort of streak, then sometimes the round brush will help. It'll give you a nice long streak. If you want something a little bit shorter, the flat brushes also help, and you can just use the end of that brush right at the bottom of the streak and just sort of feather it out a little bit.
How do I know like when I'm done? Because I found this with pre-shading when Vanra's taught me that, like, where do I know where to draw the line?
But simply at the end of the day, it's how you want your model to look. If you want it to look really accurate, get as many reference photos of the aircraft to sort of see what sort of stains the aircraft produces, or just have a bit of fun with it and just, it's your model, do it the way you want to.
I think I'm going to go a bit more over the top on this one. I know it should look a bit cleaner, but this is definitely a tester and I want to test it out properly.
Yeah, totally, that's cool, man.
Down looking online, like, I mean, I didn't look for hours, but I spent some time looking and I couldn't find, like, great reference photos. Sometimes books are the best for this, but I just don't have any right now.
Yeah, sometimes it is hard to find the exact reference photos for the exact aircraft that you're looking at, but what I tend to do is, I'll look around the sort of more working parts, so like your actuators, which you're doing. They're going to be the sort of ones that will maybe bleed a little bit of hydraulic fluid. But just look at other modern aircraft, and obviously in the case of this it's going to be a jet, so look at jets and sort of see what they do. And there's always artistic license, and again, like I said before, it's your model and you do it the way you want to do it.
Thank you so much. And I'm nowhere near your level, but one day I'll get there.
Yeah, of course you will. It's as they always say, practice makes perfect. I mean, I haven't got to where I am with it now without, a lot of time and practice doing this exact same method.
I think for me, it was just really scary. Like, you put all this work into a model and you want to make it look really good. And you're like, if you screw up the weathering, like, you're removing the paint to fix that, right?
Well, don't get me wrong, yeah, it is a bit scary and a little bit daunting sometimes. You've done a fantastic job of your model, and then you're going to weather it up and make it a little bit dirty. And yeah, sometimes it's just a case of just going out there, doing it, sometimes hoping for the best, but you're not going to learn if you're not going to try it.
Thank you so much for helping, Sully. Like, I couldn't have done this without you. Well, that was it. That was the construction. Thanks to Sully for helping me get this project together. It's been really fun learning how to use oil paints in order to create easy streaking and weathering on aircraft, and it's definitely a technique I'm going to be using going forward. But I know what we need to do now. We need to go and have a look at the Strikemaster. I mean, it's not the most realistic aircraft in the world, but I did try and use some sources online to find a really weathered Strikemaster specifically, and even jet provost, but there wasn't anything like super weathered. So in my head canon, I just kind of tried to make one as if it's been on a long operation, it's been used day in, day out, constantly refueled, constantly dropping bombs, and that's what we're going with. Because modeling doesn't have to be super accurate, it just needs to be what we want it to be. They're not real, we can make them what we want. So that's what I've gone with. Of course, if I did this again, I'd probably do a different scheme entirely, one that I can have a lot more fun with realistic weathering, especially seeing as some other air forces use these in very different roles. I guess we need to get into buy or fly. As for the kit itself, there currently isn't a Strikemaster on the market. You have got the Jet Provost from Airfix, and although there are some differences, I'm sure you could make a convincing Strikemaster from it. This kit itself is relatively expensive for what it is. It comes from anywhere to 12 to 30 pounds, and I wouldn't really say it's worth the upper end of that price range. If you can find one at a model show or even just on some like online auction sites, then I'd perhaps say if you're getting it for like under 20 pounds, maybe worth it if you're really passionate about it, but otherwise I would just say fly away from this kit. I guess as usual, it's always a case that if you really are passionate about the subject, it's nearly always going to be a buy. But again, like, I'm pretty sure you could do something pretty good with the new one, and the new one is like much better in my opinion. This was good for its age, like it went together well, it was really simple to build. I didn't ever have any moments going, oh my god, I really hate this kit, I want to quit it. Like it was easy. The hardest bit for me was getting the the putty off the canopy when I sort of masked it, and I just couldn't get that off and I had to use alcohol. That was the hardest thing. Otherwise, this was actually kind of a straightforward build. Well, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, make sure to give the video a thumbs up down below, and whilst you're there, why not subscribe to the channel? I do model videos as often as I can, but obviously they take time, and in the meantime, I try and release other videos talking about modeling or talking about other things close to modeling. Oh, and I also go to shows when I can, but you know, that's whenever I have the free time to do so. If you want to join a passionate community of friendly model makers, feel free to join my Discord. Obviously, it's my Discord, so we try and make it a happy and positive environment. And it's in a forum style, so you can easily share and search what model you're doing and share updates of it regularly. I try and post there when I'm doing new builds, as well as the community, so it's a really nice place to get together and model with each other. Thanks again for being here, guys. Your support means the world to me. I really couldn't do this channel without you, and after the last video did so well, it was nice to see so many of you joining the Discord and joining the conversation. I will do a follow-up on that video as well, but I just thought I'd give a little extra thank you for everyone for watching that video, because yeah, it really made me feel great. And I guess on that, I will see you next time, guys. Bye! Thank you so much for watching. A big shout out goes to all my Advanced Kit channel members who help keep the channel going. Shout outs go to Bob and Genevieve Albridge, David Barber, Taggers365, Jeff's Dioramas, Iron Duke, and the 2 longest subscribers to the channel, Crazy Loacher and Explosive Water. Thank you everyone, and for my starter kit level members, you're amazing as well. You also help keep the channel going and fund these weird and wonderful projects. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here today, make sure to hit that subscribe button to be notified of new modelling and aviation related videos. Also, there is a recommended video here just for you, so why don't you check it out?